I'm happy to have you part of this. I mean, you're doing some really, really fun, interesting things during this time. And, your perspective as a video professional is, I think, valuable insight. So thank you. If you want to just, for the viewers and the listeners, if you want to introduce yourself and kind of tell them what you or who you are and what you do.
Sure. My name is Josh Burstein. I have spent my career as a storyteller in Democratic politics, working on the Obama campaign, administration, the DNC, and started a creative collective called Good Political, where I met Sean, basically a lot of campaign veterans and freshly pissed talent that want to do something with their skills, and have been continuing to try and lead with entertainment on cause campaigns, and most notably have been more sort of Bourdain style, trying to be immersive and jumping in front of the camera as a host of a show, one called Last Glimpse, which was about rising sea levels in the Maldives, and that's on Amazon Prime. And Space Drop is what we just dropped, today, episode 2, but we're doing a weekly web series about an experience of living in the first simulated moon base out in Hawaii that NASA used for Mars missions. And so I'm a real fake astronaut and talking about this experience of isolation because all of a sudden it's highly relevant to a large public. So I'm hoping it's just some upbeat, positive content that's current.
Yeah. So you're doing that real time, or this was shot prior?
So, to dive right into that one, I guess what's interesting is I went on this mission last year where I literally cold called NASA and could talk about that. But, they let me, with very non-existent space science experience, be the 6th member of this crew with 5 European scientists. And so I got the unprecedented access of being able to vlog that experience, and have been chasing a TV deal for this because my whole theory of change was that, the only thing that Republicans agree on and Democrats is that space is cool. So start there and get people to think about, maybe, if we mess everything up, we have to live like this, and it's not cool like Star Trek. It's actually like lame Burning Man and just survival and, like the Wild West. Then maybe it might get more people to invest in STEM research and whatnot. So that's been not shelved, but, there's just so many other things in 2020 that have been distracting me. And it's just like an ongoing conversation trying to punch up and get Hollywood to look at stuff. But that's been in the can, and I can't be filming anything else right now. And so this has been the glorious distraction for myself and my team to just say, this is most useful now. Let's put this out. We're not going to be totally overt and just like ripping from headlines to make it relevant right now. We still want it to be a timeless piece. Yeah. But certainly the context changed, and it's just as simple as saying, like, I don't think anybody, if you had like a, Vegas bets on what was going to derail humanity, it was like aliens, it was climate change, robots. No one was thinking like public health pandemic. So just adding that into the VO and just restructuring certain beats and segments to be like more, not necessarily instructive, but just like, hey, here's the workout routine content. Here's the, like food content. Here's all these parts of what you're experiencing right now. And here's the spaced version. And maybe yours isn't so bad. And maybe you could learn something from that. It used to be more of like a more of a ride. And now it's also how to.
Yeah. It's got a comedic overtone, which I really like, because we're all freaking out in our own way, but like having a little humor definitely helps.
Well, and the first project was called Last Glimpse because it's like, hey, this place is going away and it's not much lower than Manhattan or Miami. And how do I get the furthest middle to pay attention when there's so many, conservatives that don't see a problem with being conservationists? So I guess it's just sort of hiding the football there. And so when I can say last glimpse of modern Atlantis with a smile on my face, and then look at this project as last glimpse of Earth, like what if we couldn't do anything anymore? I don't know. I'm not going to be smiling in like a Mad Max actual dystopia, but I would like to just keep morale high. And at very least, if we're going to talk about these things, rather than just a gut punch, which is all you see with a lot of content on climate change, especially, what's going to actually motivate people for action? I think it's bringing different types of tones and styles and entry points. I just, as a little tangent, I've always talked about wanting to make content like Blood Diamond, where it's like this ride that people buy into because they want to see Leo DiCaprio, but no one goes into Zales the next day and doesn't think about conflict diamonds. So right. that now you see with like Watchmen, where I went to high school in Tulsa, and I didn't really even know about what happened on Black Wall Street 100 years ago. And it took a comic book show to get everybody be like, that didn't actually happen. Oh my God, that actually happened. It's like that sort of stuff where, you let people come to their own conclusions, and maybe don't use Al Gore's voice if you're going to talk about climate change.
Right. Yeah. Like storytelling. I mean, that's kind of your realm. What moves you most about storytelling, and like, why is that so important to you?
It's a good question. I guess, I am very much, as a journalism major growing up in the school of like Hunter S. Thompson, Gonzo style, where I wanted to be more method living, and not just writing, imaginary tales, but things that were rooted in real stories. And that paired very well with, being the first new media volunteer for Students for Barack Obama, and just like getting on the ground and telling the stories of the real people impacted, and just seeing most people, if they're going to talk about messaging like that, using really blunt objects like messaging points. You have to see, and not understanding the nuance and tact of like getting people to emotionally connect with it. So I guess it's that fascinating puzzle of taking really wonky policy from the government and things that impact you and millions of others, and getting it into a quick hashtag. There's like something in between, which is the actual emotional connection, and dissemination of all of that into like the who and the why you should care and how it's personal to you. So I have been frustrated, and why I left DC is that usually that kind of creative has to go up against, approval chains of people who don't get it. And I've likened it like, if we're going to talk about jazz and you're Miles Davis, you go into a room of people and be like, oh, these are sounds. I hear you do great sounds. Yeah, we'll overpay you for your sounds. Like they hear a hammer versus a wall and a saxophone, and it's just sounds, right? So I want to involve more people that actually get like, oh, let's get down to this like really nuanced creative jam sesh and see how we can actually make that jazz with that saxophone instead of just the blunt force object. And then also understanding that it's not all just artistic, it has to have this message. I don't want to just make some Wayans Brothers feature that gets seen by a bunch of people. Nothing particularly against the Wayans, but like, it's like, I'm not going to do anything unless it has real consequence or potential for impact.
Right. So that seems to be kind of a reoccurring theme in all of my discussions is working on things that impact social change or environmental change. Some people that did a lot of just regular production are now kind of switching gears based on some of their connections within their network. They're doing more social good pieces and helping refugees and telling those stories. I don't know. I mean, I think it's important to do things that matter to you, and I think a lot of people during this time are taking the time to figure out their values? Is that something that you've spent any time with during this time, or are you just out there churning content, you know?
Admittedly, I think I'm burying myself in distractions. And sorry, there's a leaf blower going outside, but
I don't hear it.
Cool. My thing is, I haven't felt this way, like, gutturally since 11/9/2016, right? The day after Trump won. And I just felt everybody feels this way. Everyone's crestfallen. Nobody has anything left in the tank. And now is when we need to step up. And so I've always sort of operated in this contrast of like, oh, if everybody's chill, I'm freaking out. If everybody's freaking out, I'm like, Hakuna Matata, you know, let's ride. So in these instances when everybody's sitting around, I can't binge on Netflix. I can't take that kind of advice, because that's when I feel like I'm not doing anything. And I don't think it's essential that you are prolific and like write your great novel right now. But from my space experience, I know being mission oriented, having a routine established, going towards these sprints, these goals, and the arbitrary one I did was like, I'm gonna put out this very high level of production space show to at least my direct audience and hope for a larger impact. So that's going to take all my time and energy, and some daily content that you all can watch that also just demonstrates my slow descent into madness. You know, it's just let's keep some levity, and own this craft and practice. This is like the mental, physical, creative workout that I've been putting in. You know, so beyond working out more often and just trying to find these things, it's not been meditative as much as it's just been like output, because even if it's not about money, or if, Elizabeth Warren is retweeting it, it's like just, continue to not atrophy that muscle, and that motivation has been important for me without, losing sleep about the idea that, this is a major inconvenience for everybody.
Yeah. You seem to be comfortable in your own voice. How did you come to that, and how did that transition from all the work that you did politically? Like, how does an artist or a creator transition from like, okay, I'm just going to produce all this content for you, to stepping in front of the camera, or being confident in your own stories?
Well, I think it's, you start out as a bullshitter, and eventually you kind of recognize like, oh, I'm good at this. I don't need to play my hand. The best advice I got, because all I wanted to do was belong growing up in high school, right? And so being your run-of-the-mill Asian Jew from Tulsa, Oklahoma, literally that is not possible. And when I recognized that in like my early 20s, it meant like if I belong nowhere, it means I belong everywhere. And so it just gave me a lot more comfort, whether it is going to that trailer park in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and like sleeping on the bottom bunk with two cats for the sake of Barack Obama, or, going into like some Met Gala or whatever, just like the spectrum is, being comfortable in your own skin is saying, know yourself and know that belonging is, are you actually being a curious listener, and are you offering something of positivity in that space? So, yeah, it's like where that craft continued was also out of necessity of like, if I wanted to be a director, that's asking 200 people to get in a line so that I can yell action. And there's too many people in Hollywood that are like trying to make that happen without putting anything towards it. So if I know how to edit, if I know how to be a decent screenwriter, if I can hop into the camera and pinch hit, and just do everything at like my 89.4% success rate, then ideally you empower the best of the best and trust them to do each of those roles. But you also know that there's no weak links, because you can always fill in as backup. So yeah, it's maybe a quiet confidence that, you know, I don't think I'm the best at any one thing. I'm very comfortable doing the Renaissance man of like, I will just hop off this plane and react, and we'll figure it out. And that was definitely cutting your teeth in like a presidential campaign: speed, intensity, and consequence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How how do you think the production industry or like the creator role is going to be altered in this time? You know, I mean, there's a new ripple, a new wave. Um, I have a studio like 6 blocks from home, and I'm putting a podcast suite, voiceover suite, and I had a couple of microphones on my B&H shopping cart, and like midweek last week, early last week, all of those items have been purchased. They're all out of stock everywhere. So like there is a new wave in media creation. How do you think this time is going to alter things going forward?
I was talking to a friend last night, and I gotta say that this sounds like lousy, but I think that there is less of a demand for that kind of content than there is a new desire to supply. So like, as long as people recognize, as I was saying, like this is conditioning, this is your CrossFit creativity wise, it's good. But if people are looking to binge on content, they're probably going back to the thing that they've had in the queue forever. It's not like this desire for new stuff that's of lesser quality than before. I think I'm freaking out when Final Fantasy VII comes out, you know, because then I can like lose 50 hours there, or, you know, Ozark season 3. I'm not like pining for that usually, but I'm like, oh, new stuff. That's probably good. Let's just jump in.
Yeah.
So for the creator themselves, where this changes is you get set in a box. Literally, you have less opportunity. Maybe all of a sudden people are learning animation. They knew they needed to do some After Effects. I just picked up some stuff this week just for like, you know, like it's amazing what you can find on YouTube, and it's all right there. And every time people talk about the internet, like we have all this information available to us, but we don't use it. Now I think maybe there is the time to take the master class that keeps getting sponsored to you, and take the, quick little like stop motion experiment that you've been wanting to try. So back to, is the stuff that comes out of this, the next Shakespearean play in the Plague? Maybe not, especially not for everybody. But what, as consequence of being able to cocoon, means is when people come out of that beautiful butterfly of with a script ready to go, or just the tenacity of like, yeah, I'm just going to do it because I've been thinking about it and it's been festering for 50 days. Let's just make it happen. So maybe the true creative positive impact of this is like 2021 is a full slate of really cool new trends.
Yeah. I know. I feel like we all got put in a box, and like you said, literally, and now we're all like looking at things in ways, how do we get out of here? Like, how do we creatively get out of this place that I only have the size of my house to work in? And I think that's the interesting part, is how people are now like, it's not the first, the objective is not to be the first to come out. I mean, I guess if you're financially more aware, I'll just say it that way, if you've got to look at your finances, you might want to be the first one out of the box. But I think creatively, it's a creative challenge to be inside a box and have like, what tools do you have? Do you only have a phone? Do you have a DSLR? Do you have a big production kit? You don't have any model. Like, how do you like, I don't know. I think that's interesting to me, is like so many people coming up with new things, learning new skills, and some actually taking time to be bored and let their mind wander and let those stories come about naturally. I agree with you.
Well, and you just sort of sparked three things in my head. Like one, right now the bar for quality is low, right? People expect that you don't have your like red dragon in your house. So the barrier to entry with a good idea is low, which is good. Yeah. And then the second thing that I think has gotten me to this place, not just now, but usually is having a life spotter. And that is to say, somebody else who's like, I'm not stopping if you're stopping. Are you stopping? No? Okay, let's go. And so with Last Glimpse, for example, my friend Sandeep, I was just talking to him about an idea, and we all have ideas, but he really was like, that was a great idea. We're doing it. And I'm like, really? And he follows up the next day and he's like, we're doing this. And that was enough to say, yeah, if somebody else believes in this, let's keep going. And so right now what I have is a collaborator, Esteban Gast, who is just this hilarious friend and what I call an F yeah friend, you know, who's just like down for whatever, very encouraging, yes and type. And when I put out my first piece of quarantine content to keep my own sanity and hopefully be of value to others, we started riffing and he wanted to do his own stuff. And so we started this like late night feud, Leno Letterman style, that again is just the closed circuit of our friends who get this, but like we're not very good at being mean to each other. And so that we're trying to be in a feud and ripping apart each other's shows and having this rivalry. It's coming to a head tomorrow in a very glorious finale, and back to limitations of tools. This was entirely shot on an iPhone with 30 minutes total of filming. And I'll just like tease something, but also 2 Zorbs purchased on Amazon. So it's like, you know, like these are not the things that I would do presidentially when I had to be so confined and careful. But I think everyone can throw the F it card right now and just say like, what have I been wanting to do that's not wholly embarrassing if seen 2 years from now? Just do it. You know, I think people are encouraging and receptive to just seeing emotions right now and vulnerability, because we are clearly always hit with these like tiny little tinges of joy, but then it can go right back into, I am really lonely. I am in this cabin by myself. It's a beautiful one built for solitude, but I didn't choose solitude right now. And so like the coping of that, I hope people see in others when it's just more genuine output.
Yeah. Yeah. I like your approach. I like your thought process, because why not? Like, why not create something? Why not put something out there and keep it light? I mean, it doesn't have to be like fully comedic. It doesn't have to be super serious, but you know, you found a voice, you found a story, and you're not afraid to share that. And I think that's important. I was speaking to someone else kind of about this. He just kind of started doing some vlogs, and he's younger, but you could tell he's still coming to that place of being comfortable with his voice and his story. And I just can't, I don't know, like it's so important to me right now, because I'm doing it too. Like I'm never in front of the camera. I'm like, I'm always behind the camera. So it's so relevant. And I feel like a lot of people that are at home, that's relevant, you know, if they have that idea that they've just been afraid to put out. So
if you want to think of it practically, I have never gotten a position off of shotgunning my resume into the ether, right? So if you're among the millions of people recently unemployed, collecting checks right now, there is different ways that you can try and address that. But I have found that just being prolific and employing yourself with your own projects that you want to do anyway is the way that someone's going to see it within your network, say, this is terrific, and champion you to whatever position they've heard of. It's literally how I got into the White House, you know? So it works in terms of being self-unemployed. And that's not to say like there's any jobs right now in production. Like I had to shutter several projects, and I think that it's really tough, especially for folks like us who operate lemonade stands, right? Where it's like the guarantees are not there, and maybe there will be a fire sale on this coming out of this and all these projects, but there's also as likely a situation where people are more bearish about taking on the things they had planned before they went in on this, because there's no investors, because there's this, because of that. So it's like we are adapting to a new normal in many ways, and I don't see anything returning to status quo immediately. So the best thing you can do to empower yourself is build that reel, build that resume, build what you want to see. Again, as you said, to just be yourself, because your yourselfness will likely resonate with somebody that's going to be more motivated to actually fight for you than just like a quick favor off of like an email that you shotgun to 70 other people.
Right. Yeah, it's authenticity right now that's really important. I know. Excuse me. I think it's hard for a lot of people to be vulnerable and to be open like that, but in this time, I think, being able to recognize the humanity and I mean, we're all in this together on one level or another. We're all in the same situation. So,
well, I'm still very guarded and shielded in some ways, and I think that comes also with recognition, right? That there are just things that I can be really open about and also don't want to share. And, there's fear and weakness in that. But I think something I'm really learning over this year is how, like, the more you can show emotion, it's like, that's masculine. That's impressive. That's like, wow, I can't believe you were able to offer that to other people and ask for help. And so if you're struggling right now and just lost in your thoughts and just trying to like hammer away to build something to offer other people, the other best step may just be asking like, hey, can we try a Zoom writer call and just talk about how we're feeling and what we feel like our time should be put in. And the answer may not be output.
Right.
So, I've discovered I have emotions, all of them. It's great. And you should be angry at times right now. You should feel sad. And you're not, as humans, intended to feel joy all the time. But it's really nice when you do, and you should hold on to those and you should chase those and recognize when you feel that real good feeling. And right now it's like, yeah, it's when individuals reach out and tell me like, hey, what you're doing is really awesome. And I'll get bummed out because only 300 people look at this video or something. It's like, no, but that one person really resonated with them, and that's why I'm doing it. So quality interactions right now, I think, are really, really paramount.
Yeah. I mean, are you doing a lot of Zoom calls and Google Hangouts and all that stuff?
I'm getting Zoom FOMO when I'm not invited on Zoom calls, but I don't actually want to do too many of them. I think what we're doing right now is what I prefer in real life too, right? Like one-on-one or smaller group hangs. And so I think some of the positives I'm looking forward to, right, like marking my calendars, is, talking to folks from college in which we haven't all just been in the same place in a long time, or getting the crew back from 2012 Obama when we're all so busy all the time. And now it's like, why didn't we just schedule this call and make time for it before? But we're going to do it now, and that's going to be really nice. And so, if you want your live streamed yoga session or like 300 other people on a call just to feel like part of community, that's cool. That's not, I think, what I'm missing. I think it is just the, can I get a couple of these every day to remind myself I'm not on an island, even if I'm like sheltering in place.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of those community Zoom calls, my girlfriend was doing it the other day. Well, Lexi, and sure enough, I walked down in my underwear. That was my first cameo of 2020.
You know, what style? Who's to say we're wearing pants right now? You know,
Right.
you do whatever you need to relax. My big purchase was like this foot massager from Amazon to like mimic human touch. But like I've been wanting one for a while, and it's just funny because it's like, yeah, if you have something in your cart that you've just been like impulse buying, I feel like that shop therapy is okay right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're worried about your paycheck too, that's tough. But there are like self-care, number one, self-care, and no need for jeans. Just none.
Yeah, I still wear jeans every day. My girlfriend is like, "What are you doing?" I'm not a big sweatpants guy. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of half and half. I shaved before this because I realized I don't need to be the guy that shows his quarantine beard to the other side, because I don't have it in certain places. And I was just like, that's just not going to be my look. And hopefully I am doing enough of this content that, again, that brings me out to hold myself to, I don't know, shower occasionally.
Yeah, I likewise. I'm like, I'm gonna shave today. I'm gonna call somebody
on, man. Look at that. That says, that says something. Yeah. And back to establishing routine. It's like, it's not always for others, it's for yourself. And I did a fake CNN style interview with my dad for one of these projects that I've been doing. And I threw on a suit, and it felt good and also silly, because like wholly unnecessary, even when, we can hang out, because I'm in LA right now, and really you only wear suits after 7 p.m. for some sort of like premiere that I'm not invited to. No.
Yeah. I mean, it feels a little like all of our like social nuances are shifting as well, right? Like I don't know. I saw something where like sweatpants are going to be the new norm after this. Like everybody's going to be wearing them in public. Like I don't know. Like,
well, I mean, if you're going to college at the University of Wisconsin, it already is that way. Like,
true.
Just the less judgment. I mean, and if you want to explore positive consequences of this beyond just as a creator, it's like, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more adaptation of Zoom and FaceTime calls. I think you may have previously done this with maybe your parents or like a couple other people, but really, we can utilize this technology, and we recognize, like, as I'm like staring into your eyes, there's a deeper connection all of a sudden than when you know that I'm probably like doing 8 other things and distracted if we're just on like a call and I'm on my AirPods. So I do think we need to figure out what when the day we're all allowed back in the bars, like what is that day? Because pardon my French, I currently just call it everybody fuck each other day. I'm not sure if that would apply, but we definitely don't need Columbus Day anymore. If we could get a new national holiday of like hyper social hour to remember the feeling of being able to just go out and hug everybody and just like high fives like through a crowd. And just, I don't know, drinking from the same solo cup. I don't know, like none of these things are actually good. I don't think we should like go back to those things and like have people licking produce and handing it to folks. But that release is going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I was telling Lex, like even to just go have a drink at a bar, like I'm ready. I want to go out, but got to be safe. Like we gotta anticipate that. That's going to be a good day.
What if I told you this was filled with straight whiskey?
I would say mine too.
But there's no norms. There you go. Yeah, but digital happy hours are silly fun. missed out on my buddy's bachelor party. It was supposed to be in Mexico City, right the day that they closed flights to Europe was when we were supposed to travel, and we just had to pull it out. And we're really glad we did. But it's like we, I think, did the first, bachelor party of quarantine where we all just jumped on a Zoom call and had a reckless evening together.
Yeah.
And nothing, compares to real one-on-one interaction. But we're chasing those dynamics. And I think equally, there are times, to bring it back to the creative conversation, where you need stimulus externally, and then you get charged up, and then you go inward and digest it, and good output comes. So if you're feeling like you're missing out on that, there again are definitely still ways to connect with your friends. And so, like, for me and Esteban, I know that none of the projects I've had with him were written and set in stone before we ended up actually starting to just toss ideas around. Even if I thought I had a script, it just always turns out better and different because you have a sounding board and a collaborator to improve and one up.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's it, right? It's collaboration. That's a huge part. And these new tools allow us to stay connected in some way. But yeah, there's nothing better than having those people that you can work with, and because we all have ideas, but the team makes it happen, right? Like, a show is typically started with one writer, and then they find a little success, and now all of a sudden there's a team of 10, that are working on the projects, and I'd love to see that process.
Well, and I've been trying to be more deliberate about what I actually want and say it, because it's the same thing I've wanted since I was 13, which is to be a correspondent on The Daily Show, right? And that is harder to me than getting into the White House. That is harder than any other position, because it's one show with only a couple positions across many different types of industry that would covet that position. And these are small crews. And, there's a couple iterations, obviously, but I bring this up because another reason why I'm trying to hone my craft right now and do things in the silly way is because I know I have the political acumen, but I haven't had as much practice on the things that they would actually want to hire me on. So that's the testing ground that you see now. And also, it's a good reminder when you see what Last Week Tonight's having to do right now. And, like, Oliver is recording from home, but they, for the most part, are being able to emulate what they would do in a live studio. But some of the most haunting parts is, like, imagining as a performer to not have the audience feedback. Like, he's just going and doesn't know, did that joke land? He probably didn't even write it, but he thought it was funny when he agreed on it. And, like, that's his one take. And he's like, carrying on, you know? And at the same time, what more does he need than the really good, batch of researchers he has, the really strong writers? But the fact is he could Zoom call the majority of it, and somebody else could be doing the technical, and you can be putting this out right now. So look at any of the things that are coming out as 4-minute miles. And if you want to make a show about good news and you see John Krasinski does it like I did, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I won't do that because I wasn't planning on bringing Steve Carell on my show. But it also shouldn't be a deterrent, because it's like, oh, there's clearly an audience for this, and we need more positive stuff in the world. So, like, no.
Yeah, and we're all at our own level, right? I mean, we don't have to be the Tonight Show. We don't have to be the Daily Show. We can be whatever we want, whatever we come up with, and be authentic to that. Because I think
serve your niche.
Yeah. We might not have 1 million views on YouTube. Who cares? Like, as long as you're being authentic to yourself, just tell your story, put it out there. I think that's good.
Well, beyond being here right now in the present. How can I support you on this journey? What are you looking to accomplish with this newfound time?
Well, I mean, this series for me, like this conversation has really, really been a positive experience for me. So, I mean, I'm searching for answers just like everybody else, And so like, I figured why not ask the questions and, just get to the bottom of it. So I've been looking at a lot of different areas in production. So photographers, filmmakers, animators, just seeing what they're up to, what their thought process is, and like how are they going to get out of this? Or what are they doing? Proactively to market or to think about marketing. Just trying to put all the pieces together. So I mean that's kind of what I'm working on. Obviously, like I want to connect and be part of the community, but I'm also searching for ways that work for me and I've actually really enjoyed this. Like, I don't know if I want to pick up a big camera again. Like, I like this, some of those big productions where you're hauling all that gear around. It's nice to be able to be nimble,
Well, I'm pretty confident this is the longest the two of us and some of our other comrades have been in our homes consecutively ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or just like in the same city, let alone, So that is nice. Maybe you like that. Or maybe even though I swore off all, presidential campaigns this cycle, maybe I'm a little stir crazy about the other side of this. And like, I'll take 100 days on the road. Let's, overcorrect.
Yeah.
But I hope that, for you and Lexi, it's an opportunity to dive deep, whether you like it or not, and then, see what gets to be fostered off of, genuine, consistent time.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's anything about, like the sort of duality of like, most people have one of two existence where it's like, they're really getting to know their partner. They're really getting to know what it's like to be a parent 24/7, or they're like me, hanging out, working on themselves. And I think that there are sincere downsides to both, but there is going to be really, really wonderful outcomes because of that. And the curiosity is like, how do these people then interact with each other again? And I wonder if this much social distance will change, open up our abilities to understand each other, right? Or also stunt, like, if someone were to just like come over and like put their shoulder around me like 2 weeks ago, I don't know if I'd like cower and be like confused and need to like come back into the level of warmth that I usually want to offer and receive.
Yeah.
So yeah, open communication though I think is what I'm trying to work on all the time, but also right now is like, oh, can we come out of a chiropractic moment like this and hold on to that one very important thing that we've been lacking as a society? And yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you've got some creating to do. So,
I'm on a schedule, it's a tough boss.
Yeah.
On my ass from the second I jump in the shower to like till I go to bed. Yeah.
No, but Josh, I can't thank you enough for sharing and being personable and authentic and the overtone of comedy and your experience has been really beneficial to me, just watching what you've been putting out and looking for more of that. I think you said something comes out tomorrow. So I'm excited to see that.
Yeah. My plug is check out Space Drop, because that is something beyond just me. There's a lot of really great people, a great crew that I just don't want it to flop and then should go beyond my network. But then, yeah, as far as just like really derpy humor. Tomorrow is going to be a fun one. So yeah, check it out on the socials.